Well, it's great to catch up with you on this project. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, you bet. So, before we begin our journey here, I want to know first and foremost, one of the things that's kind of shaped the artistic wave of things that are coming out now has been living through this pandemic. And 5 years ago, it was raging.
Mm.
And it hit all of us on the planet in a very specific way, but especially musicians. How did you ultimately get through the pandemic of 2020, and how has that reverberated into what you're doing creatively and otherwise in 2025?
Oh, should I answer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So we were really lucky actually because during the pandemic we were studying in The Hague in the Netherlands. We did our undergrad there. That's where we also met, and we basically lived in the same building. So we could practice and write music and everything all the time together still throughout the whole pandemic. And so we didn't really have like a real creative drop like many people had during that time. And the only thing was that we didn't really have gigs during that time because simply nothing was possible. But since we were students, the school we were in was really active in setting things up regardless. And so we had a lot of in-school performances still. And once the pandemic kind of flattened down a little bit, we went out to bars and did like bar gigs and
Yeah.
background stuff. So yeah, so it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. This period that we could practice together that really shaped like yeah, it was like a foundation for everything else that came afterwards. Like we really could work out some stuff. Like the thing is, I come from an electric bass actually, and when I started studying in The Hague, I had to transition. So especially this period in 2020 that we could practice together, that really helped me to get my double bass playing in shape and also explore a lot of music that like our influence is basically a lot of things from the ECM record label that we really admire. The Bobo Stenson trio, especially, uh, and Keith Jarrett with his European quartet and everything. So that all was explored during this COVID period and is so still so present today. Yeah.
So before we get into Tree Huggers, I want to know, how did this musical union happen? How did you start collaborating? When did this happen, and how has it evolved to this album?
Mm.
So the story goes back to 2019. So we both entered to the Royal Conservatory in The Hague. We met in our first year, first ensemble, first class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Wolf was struggling learning double bass, and he was asking me to practice together. And I said yes. And then since then we've been playing, practicing together, and later on also making music together. And yeah, it's been 6 years doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah, while doing it, we also discovered, like you said, our love for contemporary jazz. And yeah, from there on, we kind of set our project, the core kind of genre of our project. And then since then, we've been, yeah, writing in that genre.
right, and then we fast forward a little bit. We moved together to New York to do our masters here, and yeah, we really found a great support here right from the start. And so we did many concerts and tried to record as much as possible. The new school was really that's where we studied, was really supportive of us. So they gave us many chances to record at Bunker and in Brooklyn. And so a lot of these recordings today sounded just so great right from the start. And then people were like, "Man, you got to put this out." And we were like, "Okay, well, looks like we have something here at our hands." And that's how Tree Huggers basically came about. Also, it's like in these Bunker recording sessions. And yeah, I guess we call it Tree Huggers because especially when we moved to New York, became kind of obvious for us that um, we we have kind of an urge to find out how we can be activistic in a way that we want to promote preservation of nature. Especially living in a big city like New York, it's pretty obvious, that that's not really happening all the time here. So we started to get more involved into these thoughts and write music inspired by nature and catching up on these topics. Yeah.
Well, especially with what's going on politically. I mean, everything environmentally wise is just going rapidly downhill. So anything that any of us can do is a big deal. So let me ask you this. What are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from Tree Huggers? What do you want them to get from this album?
That's a great question.
I think Tree Huggers is a song that I wrote, and I was having a thought that I grew up in a place where there's a gigantic mountain right in front of my place, and I saw the weather changing. I saw the season changing just by just opening the window like that. And when I think about it, it's really privileged life. I really love that, and I'm missing here a lot. And I when I talk to people like who grew up in a big city like Manhattan or New York City, people sometimes tend to have a lack of that kind of connection in between them and the nature. And I wanted to give them kind of how can I say, kind of a
like a hint,
chance how it is. If you live close to the nature, you maybe have a sense of caring the nature more than to the people who haven't done that before. And I think that is really important for like this situation currently, like how you mentioned about the political part too. Yeah, in general, people on the earth, they're just kind of nowadays, because it's so how can I say the word
Yeah, well, there's definitely not much attention on for preserving activities.
So I just wanted to give them a little bit of hint that how it is, so they can also experience my part of life, and it is also very personal thing. So yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, before we get into the dynamic of you two working together, your backgrounds from Korea and from Germany. How have those cultural mindsets and the way that because America's a different place, vastly different from everywhere else. How did those cultural backbones and coming together, how have those enhanced the way that you create together and the way that you make music?
That's also a great question. I love this. I think honestly, very consciously, not very much from the beginning. Like I don't think we really always thought about it so much, at least in the first years. I think it was maybe like a personal thing on how to get along with one another, like what are the habits and like cultural habits and so on. And so that was always really interesting to figure that out. What's the norm? But later, and especially last year, we started to think about this more in a musical way. And so Sujae started to dig in more into Korean traditional music as well. And so I had to do as well. And nowadays we learn a Korean traditional instrument called the jangu, which is a Korean drum. And so we now try to process what we learn and compose, and especially Sujae tries to compose music that kind of connects onto this Korean tradition. I don't know if there's so much from from Germany in that sense. I think maybe on my part it's like probably the classical music, and I'm not a classically trained musician. I had classes in like double bass classical instruction and all, but I don't really come from there. Sujae, on the other hand, you played a lot of classical
Mhm.
piano. And so we still listen to a lot of classical music as well. And sometimes we get inspired by that, definitely, when it comes to improvising. Yeah. So
Yeah, but definitely the one that connects all these three countries is jazz
yeah,
for us.
improvisation in general, I
Yeah,
would
that's
say.
the reason why we're here too.
Yeah, definitely in New York, there's also for us like one thing that became really interesting right from the start was like the new music scene, especially in avant-garde. And so and the new school was really great in pushing that and setting up a lot of workshops where you would improvise with a lot of people from all vastly different backgrounds. So so how do you communicate in such a situation if everybody has like actually a different musical vocabulary? And so free improvisation, I think, is like the connector between everything. We did a lot
Yeah.
of that. So maybe in our current releases that doesn't come out so much, but it's definitely something we've been working on. And I also have an individual project that entirely focuses on that. So there's definitely some cool stuff of that we're talking about definitely coming up in the next year. Yeah.
So one of the biggest things about our musical development, no matter whether you're a player or you're a fan, anybody out there is a concert that you saw early on in your life. What was one of the first live jazz shows that you saw, or first live concerts that blew you away and made you think, I want to be up there one day. I want to do that. That's cool.
Mm.
Mm. Oh, I think well, um, so for your information, in Korea, the jazz scene is very small, like really tiny, teeny.
Okay. That's interesting.
It,
It
yeah,
seems to get bigger though. I
yeah,
think
it's
yeah.
to get bigger
Yeah.
because now, because during the pandemic, most of the students who were studying abroad, they went back to Korea,
Mm.
and so all kind of like jazz students, they also went back to Korea, and now they're setting themselves up and
Ah,
they're growing, you know.
yep.
But when I was living in Korea, I didn't really have a chance to see a like jazz concerts, like only in
Mm.
small bar, like one bar in my hometown, where they would play kind of jazz, but not really like, you know, people would like really go there and see the concert, that kind of thing. For me, my first jazz concert was in the Netherlands.
Ah.
I saw Brett Mehldau in a very big hall. I think it was Utrecht
Yeah, it
or
was it Paradiso, Amsterdam?
Amsterdam. I'm not sure. And I was sitting in the front row, like in the middle of front row, and I was looking like this the whole time, and I was like crying.
Yeah. I mean,
I was like
that's
so mesmerized, like, wow, this is so amazing. This is like who I want to be, like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's a baptismal in itself. I mean, right? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
Exactly.
when people are like, "Yeah, I caught Miles Davis live." I'm like, "Wait, what? What are you talking
Yeah.
about?"
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's the top of the mountain right there.
Yeah.
S- Um, what about you? What was your first live?
Oh, it's difficult to say. You know, I musically I've been always interested in so many different things. So I didn't really start out with listening to jazz. I actually listened to a lot of rock and roll and
Okay.
like hard rock and also
Yeah, yeah. So
like
who?
a
What was the concert?
absolute guilty pleasure. It's like Motorhead.
Nice.
Yeah. Like my mom and her boyfriend back then they bought us tickets when I was 13 or 12. And I think 13 probably. And then yeah, we went to this concert. It was so loud, it was crazy. And my mom was like, put the earplugs in. And whenever she didn't look, I would pull them out. And like it was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Ye-
Yeah, definitely Lemmy from Motorhead is like my first musical crush. But I think jazz wise, oh, it's tough to tell. I think one concert that really, or actually maybe, yeah, yeah, it was kind of a concert, but also a workshop. It was back then in the Royal Conservatory. When you come in, the freshmen and all, they usually did like a duo concert or workshop with a Dutch trumpeter called Ak van Rooyen.
Okay.
And yeah, and his pianist Juraj Stanek. And Ak is no longer with us, sadly. He passed away a couple of years ago. Um, and man, I mean, he could just play one note and you would get goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now, and actually, honestly, kind of emotional
Yeah.
thinking about it. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it really struck me how he played, because he could say so much with playing so little.
Yeah.
That really resonated with me, and just a really wonderful human being. And I felt like his whole personality really came out with every note that he would play. So yeah, I think that's a good one. Yeah, a good
So I
memory.
had a rock and roll background. I didn't come to jazz until later in life in my 20s. Okay. So the first concert I saw was Kiss, and they didn't
Oh
have
man.
makeup on. It was Animalized. And that only lasted one tour. People were like, no, I don't think so. What, cover it up. And 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 then
No, no, no.
And then around your age, I don't know why my parents thought this was okay. They dropped me off in Kansas City. We had a place called Kemper Arena down by the river, and it was Motley Crue, Theater of Pain, and that was
Man.
crazy. They were shooting bottle rockets off from the top down. I mean, it was just like it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. But anyways, I know that rock and roll thing, so I
Mm.
I totally get it. So let me ask you this. What is it that you two look forward to the most with creating? You two coming together to create, what do you like the best about each other in that creative sense?
Mm.
I think to me, Wolf sees kind of wider views of everything in music. For me, I cannot, I don't know, I'm maybe not there yet. When
I
I
don't think so.
when I
I think you're
compose,
there.
when I play, I mean, I try to be in the moment, but the moment is just like, to me, it seems like about like this, like the view is about like this. But when I play with Wolf, and when I hear what he's doing, then he's already much further. He's already hearing everything in ensemble concept. Even it comes even more to
Mm.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, thank you. Um, yeah, I think what I really love about playing with Suja is that, and that's not an experience I just have for myself, but that's also something I always observe when she plays with others, is that you somehow have the capability to bring out the best in each person's playing, like in what they want to say, and or what they're trying to say, especially when I try to say something. I feel like there's always a very generous support for everything that I want to do, and patience, a lot of patience and understanding, and constant nurturing of ideas. So that's there's nobody that I feel more comfortable and playing with, and just being myself. Yeah, and I know that whatever I try to do, it's gonna be heard, and it's gonna come out, and it's gonna sound great. So it's really, yeah, a lot of trust that I feel from your side. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Mm.
So let me ask you this. Let's say we roll the red carpet out and you come to Kansas City to play a show, but we have to promote it. And you have to come up with kind of a Twitter or a short explanation as to what you're going to sound like live. You have to fill the seats in one of our premier venues. Let's say the Blue Room on 18 and Vine. How would you sell what you do live to get people to see you? Feel like you're
Man.
on a game show now, don't you?
um, hmm. Oh man, I'm not great at selling stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I would say, uh, just two really. I mean, depends on the whole situation. But if we would come as a duo or yeah, as a duo, then I would say two really um, yeah, the music of people who would truly represent themselves in the music with whatever they are doing. I think like a very personal and honest
Yeah.
approach to music that you're going to hear, definitely. And yeah, welcoming everybody's originality and background. Yeah.
Just accepting being who they are.
Yeah.
So if Tree Huggers is the new album, if anybody wants to pick up a copy, they want to catch you live, any of the good business in your collective worlds, where do they go?
Just every streaming platform, I would say. You can get it. Also Bandcamp, you can order
Yes.
a copy. This is it.
That's it. I like it.
And
A lot.
yeah, definitely. Also the others are also available there. So
Yeah, trio
Okay.
album, the first duo album too.
that's definitely that's where they can find us. And social media, just our names.
Yeah, our website.
And websites, right? So we have everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will put all the links in the show notes. This has been great. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Oh yeah. And just one thing, we're going to have a quartet album released later this year in November. So that's going to feature Steve Cardenas on guitar.
From Kansas City. He's
yeah,
exactly. Yep.
This is a good.
Yeah.
See, you fell right into the right geographical folder here.
And Marko Djordjevic, a drummer from Serbia, but who's living in New York since over 20 years, and yeah, who has been a great and dear friend of ours too. So yeah, it's going to be great. We made pictures yesterday. It's going well.
Hey jazz fans, Joe Domino here, the host of the weekly Neon Jazz radio show and regular interview series being produced and distributed from Lee Summit, Missouri. We are very excited to let you know about the second annual Lee Summit Jazz Festival taking place again this summer on June 28th at the Bridge Space, located at 210 Southwest Market Street in downtown Lee Summit. Following the success of the 2024 festival, the lineup will include Lee Summit students, KC Area Youth Jazz, Paganova with Michael Pagan, Horoscope with Stan Kessler, Brad Gregory, Adam Larson, and the Lee Summit Jazz Orchestra. There will also be food trucks and vendors to round out a day of celebration. Early bird tickets are 2 for $30, and all details can be found at lsjazzfest.com. We can't wait to see you there.